Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
Hello, you nerds. It's Tejas and Dinkar from the Geek Fruit Podcast, which you're about to hear in a bit. But before that, an advertisement.
Hello. The Moja Club makes awesome funky socks that you can buy individually or even better, in a pair. It's crazy, I know. You could get a subscription and sign up for 6 months or a year and get a pair delivered to your house every single month. And they will even throw in one pair for free.
And exclusively for you Geek Fruit nerds, get a full 33% discount. Just go to their website, themojaclub.in, and use the code GeekFruit, that's without spaces, during the checkout. Hey guys, even though Elon Musk is trying to turn everyone into robots, you'll be happy to know that very real human beings work at IVM Podcasts, and some of them are even cool. How do I know? Well, listen to their own podcast, IVM Likes, where they recommend what they are listening to, watching, or reading. Catch IVM Likes every Monday on iTunes, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And may I recommend the IVM Podcasts app.
You're listening to the Geek Fruit Podcast.
Hey, Dinkar.
Hey, Tejas.
Did you know that the creator of Wonder Woman was a dude, A? B, he was into bondage. C, he was a pretty weird guy.
This explains a lot because Wonder Woman can be a pretty weird character. She had fighting kangaroos in her cartoons at one point.
She had an invisible jet because of the war.
Funny fact, the invisible jet is in the Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
It's just never addressed or pointed at or seen at all because it's an invisible jet.
This
but
is true, you can't see it.
In every shot, there's an invisible jet in the background.
Yeah, man.
Prove me wrong.
Did you guys not see it?
Yeah, it was there.
It's like, shot. That jet almost belonged to like John Cena or something.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there is an invisible jet in the studio right now.
Yep.
I can see it. I mean, I can't see it.
What?
Yeah, I can't see it.
Cool. So, on this episode, we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman. We have two wonderful guests as well. But I'm going to leave that for after the break.
What's the best new restaurant in town?
Which bar sucked?
What's the worst new Hindi film?
What's the most obscure thing to do on the weekend?
And what's the most interesting new walking tour?
If you want to know how to make the most of Bombay, listen to the podcast by thedailypow.com. We are Pronuti,
Amit,
And Purva.
We're your guide to what to do, see, and eat in the city. You can find new episodes of the podcast every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you prefer and on thedailypow.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Geek Fruit Podcast. We have a full house today, which is cool. We have all 4 mics being utilized for the first time ever. Now, have we done this before where we have more than
4
one person?
people?
Dinkar?
I'm sure we must have. I can't remember an instance where.
Well, we have an interesting lineup for today's episode.
Yes.
We have Navin,
Hi.
who is our podcast producer.
Hello.
Hi Navin. You're also a famous person.
I am now,
You are a famous
which
person.
makes a difference.
Yeah,
A stand-up of note.
But
10 listeners more because
I'm gonna treat you the same. As in, like,
I
I'm gonna
expect
treat
you
you
to. I expect
like us, which is
That's honorable to me.
riffraff. All right, Dinkar and I are that, so we're
Yes.
gonna keep you on the same line. We have a very special guest on the show today. Somebody who's been wanting to be on this
Thank
show
you
for
for
a very
that
long time.
welcome, Tejas.
We're not talking about you, Dinkar.
What?
No,
Oh, man.
We have a wonderful woman on our show today.
Thanks, guys.
It's Mae.
Hi.
Hi, Mae.
I'm good. I'm
Mae,
awesome and wonderful.
obviously, for
Great.
people who don't know, why don't you introduce yourself and what you do?
Okay, so I basically host an indie music podcast called Mae and Navin that both of you have been on.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. Several times, in fact. And
Yeah, you have for sure.
Yeah.
We're
but,
repaying the favor here. It's a pay
thanks,
for play
guys.
situation.
on the episode that you interviewed Dinkar
Yeah.
as his music, alter ego, yes?
Yeah.
Bone Broke, you did mention that you've always wanted to be on the show. So
I have.
this is a
Even
great
on
opportunity.
Jishnu's second episode because he's
Oh,
been
did
on
you?
it twice.
Yes.
I also told him and he ragged me senseless.
Oh.
He was very mean to
Well,
me.
Well, Jishnu's out and you're in. So who has the
thrilled
last
right
laugh
now.
there?
and there's I want to say we would have called you for like any other episode, but I feel like this one's a good one because it is important to have a lady on this episode.
Yes.
We're talking about Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
the latest from the DC Expanded Universe. And we have many thoughts on the movie. Dinkar and I saw it together, so we know what we're thinking. But we have invited you two specially to here today to talk about what you enjoyed about the movie and what you may have felt it was lacking. And whether you think that it deserves all the praise that it is currently getting.
Awesome.
So, Mae, why don't we start with you? What did you first of all, what is your introduction to the DC world? Have you watched the other movies? Have you been watching some of the other movies?
This is the weird thing. I've actually not seen Batman versus Superman,
Okay.
and I've heard it is piss poor.
Okay.
So
Alright.
I've not seen it, so I have not seen this little sort of like Wonder Woman entry into that.
But you have seen Suicide Squad.
I have seen Suicide Squad.
This is an interesting thing. I just want to say that Suicide Squad seems to be the movie that most people are getting their introduction to the DC universe. Because is it because of did you watch it because of Will Smith, or what was the drawing factor to you seeing an unknown bunch of characters, but you went for that over Batman versus Superman? What was the rationale?
I'm one of these trailer freaks.
Okay.
I watch a lot of trailers.
Okay.
And
Yeah, she actually watches trailers for back to back. Just trailers.
yeah,
Okay,
I
nice.
could just I'm having lunch. Let me just watch some trailers.
Nice.
That's pretty much my life.
All right.
And what happened was, I mean, Will Smith is an aspect of it, but I think it was, what's her name? Margot Robbie.
Ah, yes.
I think that's kind of my
Definitely.
attraction
Big draw for the
towards
movie.
that.
Yeah.
And I was really fascinated about how she
Did you like the
played-
movie?
It's
fine.
You don't have
The
to.
correct answer
Yes,
is
the
no.
correct answer is no.
Yeah, I'm glad for that because the thing is, on the whole, as a film, I didn't like it at all. The thing is, I really liked. The only aspect that I thought was really great is for anyone who doesn't know anything about Suicide Squad, which I didn't really know much about it.
Yeah.
Was just the beginning, all those introductions to the characters.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah.
You mean the part where the movie was on iPod Shuffle? Basically,
Yeah,
it was
pretty much.
Pretty
a new
much.
song every 45 seconds.
That's true, but it genuinely, as someone who's not if I don't know anything about it, it was a great introduction to every single one of the characters. So you feel like you understood the universe to a certain extent,
Right.
and then sort of when the movie pans out, it kind of gets not so great.
Yeah, it's a little pointless.
That's a
And I
polite
gotta,
way of
the
putting it.
thing is, the characters are great. I thought Margot Robbie was really good. I thought Will Smith was really good. I think everyone as their own characters
true.
played those roles really well. It's just the actual film was a bit meh.
I want to say those two in particular are the best
They're
parts
the
of the movie.
standout, yeah.
Naveen,
Yes.
let us move on to you. What is your? I mean, we know you're a nerd.
Your
Yes.
DC situation up to this point.
So I had my initial exposure to comics through DC. I read up on Batman, Superman as a kid, and genuinely my allegiance lies towards DC.
Okay, I see,
But then
yeah.
I saw the movies, and then I fell the whole Nolan trilogy.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Perfection, right?
Yeah, of course.
And now Batfleck is good enough for me to go back to it.
Yeah.
But what they did with BVS and Suicide Squad, unforgivable, right?
Right.
So I'm so glad finally I think DC has a win in Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Also because I spoke to a lot of my friends, I went to watch with a female friend of mine, my best friend, and she said that she grew up kind of getting inspired by Wonder Woman because she's so badass and she's so cool at the same time. And I'm like, oh, me too, because there was part of me when I walked out of this movie, I realized that it's not a female-led superhero movie. It's a movie with a great, powerful icon.
Yes.
Irrespective of your gender, you will admire that.
Yes.
And that's what I took away from the movie. and
Okay,
that
cool.
for me was a win.
Talking about Wonder Woman now?
Yes, we are talking about Wonder Woman.
By the way, my introduction to the DC world is actually my brother. He's a big comic book geek.
Oh, great.
And I ended up reading, obviously, not so much of Superman, more of Batman. I mean, Frank Miller and so on.
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
forth.
yeah,
Some of
yeah.
my favorite
Nice.
versions of it.
Nicely
but
done.
that was
Nice.
my Wonder Woman as a comic book. I've never really read.
Okay, all right.
But
It's pretty
I've,
good.
I've weirdly enough watched there was, I think, was this in the 60s or 70s or something? There was
The
like
60s
those-
TV show?
Linda Carter TV show.
So
Yeah.
I've
70s, yeah.
seen some of that,
70s,
but it's
yeah.
those are awesome. It's like watching Knight Rider or something.
Yeah, it's a classic TV show.
Yeah.
I mean, only 3 seasons, but I think cemented the idea of the character in the minds of people. Pretty much like what I guess Adam West did for
Kind of,
Batman.
yes.
Yeah, pretty
It was
much.
camp in
gonna
its
make-
own way.
Yeah, it was
Comparison.
pretty camp. It was
Yeah,
straight up
yeah.
camp. But I mean, still did the job that we needed. Because I want to say Wonder Woman is she's one of the principal characters of the DC Comics pantheon,
Yeah.
right? And she is like what they call the Trinity. She's part of it. She's Batman and Superman, which we see in BVS. She is an integral part of that.
Yeah.
She does found the Justice League. So, very important character. I wanted to ask you guys a question. Do you think this movie, for the very sake of the fact that we haven't seen a female-led superhero film till now, with everything having, gone by in terms of all the Marvel movies, they're yet to open their account in that sense, to have a straight, full-on female-led film, even though they've had such great female characters in the movies, like Agent Carter, Peggy Carter, or, Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, etc. Do you think this movie kind of is already being celebrated before it was released itself? There's a lot of goodwill for this film to come out, especially because, it was the first time they had a female director, Patty Jenkins, who's done an excellent job in this movie.
He sure really
has. So do you think this movie kind of beat the box office to the punch in the sense that, it was already a hit with people before it even came out?
Actually, it's kind of strange. I don't think I felt that. I felt like there was more hype about maybe Batman versus Superman than there was with Wonder Woman. I don't think Wonder Woman got as much. Everyone was like, oh my God, these two big men in one movie? This is insane. Wonder Woman, this seems cool. I might watch it because I don't think... The way you revere Batman and Superman, I don't think Wonder Woman gets that as much.
Comparatively, no.
Yes,
comparatively not. So I don't think there was that. I mean, there might have been a relative amount of a little bit of hoo-ha around the fact that, okay, Wonder Woman's coming out, the trailers came out, this seems really cool, let's go watch it. But not at the level that I felt like if we're looking at these sort of the Batman movies and the Superman and whatever, I don't think Wonder Woman got it as much. Now that people are watching it, I think it's getting like a relatively because I went in, it's doing really well. Yeah. And I went in with absolutely a very little expectation. I just wanted to see it because it just looked amazing. And Gal Gadot is just...
Oh, she's good.
And I agree with that for a second. Because going into the movie, there was not much hype about the movie because it's a good movie. People are like, okay, the trailer looks good. But Suicide Squad also looked good in trailers. So will it be really be as good as we wanted it to be?
Yeah, people were starting to lose their faith.
So I don't think there was that much of a goodwill. But when people watched it, they were like genuinely surprised. Oh, they actually pulled out a good trump card in this one.
Dinkar, what do you think?
About the female-led thing?
Yes.
I think there is a bit of a handicap that you would give to Wonder Woman, especially for people like us who've been watching superhero movies for a long time, seeing that it's a fresh perspective, a female lead and a female director, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
Seeing that is naturally going to make us a little more open to watching it. But I think that's not only expected, that's also, that's an okay thing. When you, if Jishnu was watching Fuller House, he's going to come in with the memories of Full House, right? He's looking, you will come in with, you're going to give it a handicap.
Yeah.
Well, this is how we bring up Jishnu. Rest in peace, Jishnu. He's not dead, he'll be back soon. Similarly, you go in with a sort of... openness, shall I say, to Wonder Woman because we want to see DC succeed at something like this because there's not enough of it happening. But on the other hand, I feel like a lot of people were also going in with expectations of it being crap because it's a DC movie.
Right.
So it all probably balances out.
Yeah, I think I want to say that sounds about accurate. Yeah, because every one of us have been we all want DC to win, right? It is one of the greatest creative companies in the world. They've created some of the most long-lasting characters. All three of their characters just celebrated their 75th, years of existence. And Batman and Superman have had their day and Wonder Woman hasn't until now. And so I think it automatically creates a big deal out of it. And so I too went into the movie, keeping that in mind, even though I was, I'm always apprehensive. Because DC knows when they let people down, they do it really well.
They're champs.
So I went into the movie with low to moderate kind of expectations. I was quite pleased, but I do have a lot of grievances with the film. So let's talk about the film itself. What did you guys think, Mae?
Okay, so like I said, I didn't have too much expectations in the movie because I didn't know, except for Gal Gadot, who I thought was absolutely stunning and seemed to fit the role and the look and everything.
Right.
Man, some of my favorite scenes in that movie is all on that island. That gorgeous freaking island. All those women. Robin Wright couldn't have been more perfect.
Excellent.
She's so good.
I raised my hand in the theater. I'm like, Robin Wright came in.
Sorry guys, spoilers warning.
Spoiler warning. We haven't reached the end yet.
But Robin Wright dies so early in the film.
Yeah, that's so unfair.
Give that away. Yeah, but she does.
Yeah.
But you know what? Also, I thought that all the fight choreography throughout the film was amazing, especially that giant fight on the beach.
Yeah.
Right? It was awesome. It's one of those moments where do they have guns? And we're like, no, we don't have guns. We've got arrows with fire on it. And that's about it. But all the fight sequences on that island with those women, like they're so good. Like,
it reminded me a lot
of
300. I mean, like that was the entire, all the slow motion effects and stuff like that. Kind of really, there's that one badass move which is then replicated later on, in the German occupied.
Yeah, the bell tower scene.
Yeah, the bell tower scene. So basically, what happens is Robin Wright does this awesome move where she jumps on a person's shield, and then that slow motion shot is just that was breathtaking. Yeah, it was.
That's
really,
like Deadpool's gunshot, but like with an arrow.
Three arrows.
Very, very cool.
That was so cool.
But really good. So, what do you think overall of the story of Wonder Woman?
So, the thing is, I also I was just telling Dinkar when a little earlier was I just love the way they told the story of Wonder Woman and where she came from, and there's that beautiful bit where they sort of illustrate a painting sort of comes to life, and
it is cool.
Hippolyta tells Diana about the story of her, right, and about the war and this and that. So I love the way that's sort of all sort of picturized and everything, and the thing is, I had this huge debate with a friend of mine and a gal pal of mine, and she was like, Wonder Woman seems dumb in this whole thing, and I was like, how? She's from another world. She has no idea.
I mean, I think what she
on.
meant by dumb is that she's very naive and very innocent
But that's
in her
the thing.
understanding. But that's the whole point of the film.
But that's the thing. You come from a completely different place. You can't assume that she knows everything, and she is fighting literally an uphill battle.
She's unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt.
Yeah, she is.
She pretty much is.
So I was trying to explain, and eventually when I explained it to her, she kind of got it. But that was literally her first impression, and she hasn't seen the beginning or the end of the movie, weirdly enough. So the thing is,
I just saw the dumb parts.
She walked into the movie knowing as much as Wonder Woman knew about the rest of the world.
Exactly. But the thing is, the way the whole thing pans out, especially this whole idea of Ares and the war and what it meant, and I really got into the whole movie, and that crazy woman with the weird masked face and
and Dr. Poison.
Yeah, Dr. Poison.
Okay, let's take a moment at Dr. Poison. I think Dinkar and I saw this together, and the moment we finished watching the film, there were immediate kind of reactions to it. For us, I mean, I think. I'll see what I felt. I thought the action sequences were great. I really like the idea of, a naive kind of Wonder Woman whose heart is literally super pure, very good person. Especially, I don't know, maybe it's such a refreshing factor that everyone in the DC universe is super jaded and cynical. That we finally have a character who is very Marvel in that sense, very, open to kind of very, remind me a lot of Thor, obviously, in that way. Thor and Captain America. We have somebody who's morally good. Straight up
and
from the
who believes in humanity and the good of the world.
Literally, Chris Pine shows up on the beach. He's like, there's a war happening. And he's like, okay, cool, I'm going to fix it. And that's why she leaves. And I found that quite endearing in a time where it's just not cool anymore to be that way. So I think I like that. What about you, Naveen? What did you think of the plot line, at least, of her kind of leaving for this
So the main thing I really like about the movie is that there's no rushed action scenes. At this point, there are a lot of reshoots happen in movies because they want to force feed action scenes to people. Here they let the story build. As the whole island scene, I was totally on with it because there was not much happening. Even though there's an entire war that breaks out on the beach, before that also I was really invested in what her origin is because they use the alternate storyline that where Themyscira actually exists and it's not Paradise Islands anymore, and there's an actual Greek mythology to it. Very genuinely, for example, we know Man of Steel, Superman comes from Krypton.
Exactly, I was very much
we've been force-fed that whole Krypton thing and Thomas Wayne shooting thing by now. I genuinely wanted to know what Wonder Woman's origin
Wonder Woman was about.
And now we know.
That
that was really endearing to me. The action scenes, though, I had a bit of a problem with that. I felt that though some of them are very badass shots, the shots are slowed down for effect, and the rest of them, when they're actually impactful, they've sped up a little bit. So there's no middle ground with that. It's even though they have trained very hard for these roles, so show us them fighting, as they are, not with that many camera cuts. So as soon as the shaky cam or camera cuts, I kind of get weaned away from the action part.
It is a way of cheating in action sequences, which is
but I still enjoyed it, man. I was totally in it.
I mean, we spoke about when we did our episode for Iron Fist. We spoke about the same thing about how that to mask some of the fact that this character what's his name? Finn Jones wasn't really ready by that time, so they had to use a lot of cuts, and there were 48 cuts. I don't think there was that many in this. But I felt I totally get the whole
jarring.
Yeah, the difference between the really slow shots and then the really sped up stuff was really like, it was interleaved like exactly back to back. So it was a little bit.
So like 1 second she's like sliding on the floor, like taking people down with a sword.
Yeah.
Next second she's kicking something, but that's too fast. Like the thing's gone like too fast, and then you don't even see the impact of it all.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it's
feel like
aesthetic
that's
choice,
so much with.
But
this.
a lot of people, my friends have complained about the third act, which I genuinely enjoyed.
I also think the third act is flawed.
The third act? Which
is
the bit about Aries?
So here's what happens. Just a recap for people who have seen the movie.
This is going to be a complete spoiler.
A complete spoiler. So let's talk about the entire film. In that sense, it comes to a fore when Wonder Woman has to leave Themyscira to go and fight the World War, which she thinks is being created by Ares, who we've been told is the person, he's the god of war, and this is what he does. He conducts war, and so she goes to kind of find this, and she kind of sees the injustices happening to people. She sees all the the poverty. She sees the war, the effects of war on people. And finally, when she finds out, she manages to focus in on a person who seems to be behind some of the most heinous acts.
Yeah.
And that's a man named Ludendorff, who's aided by Dr. Poison. I just want to stop here in the story to say both of these characters were extremely laughable for me. I think they were so over-the-top kind of Looney Tunes type villains. They felt...
German accents.
I think, Dinkar, what did you say about them?
In Rocky and Bullwinkle, there is Boris and Natasha. These guys were exactly that. Like bad Russian accents, like hammy, evil laughter at everything.
Yeah, it felt unreal, and they feel very not part of the story.
So there's one scene where Ludendorff walks out of a war council meeting, pissed at them, and he throws in this poison gas and a single gas mask. Now the gas mask is actually ineffective. And this is so Dr.
Symbolic.
Poison is like, he just wants to make them fight over it to mess with them even more, right? So he comes out and Dr. Poison is like, oh, but the gas mask won't work. And he's like, but they don't know that. And then they both, I kid you not, go, And
I mean, here's a gas effect as well.
What is going on?
Yeah, it felt really... I mean, it was just laugh. It was cartoony, like that part. So I never really found a strong villain in the movie. And the real fight I saw, which was happening, was, Wonder Woman coming to terms with the fact that, hey, this war is happening. There's, it's just bad for everybody. It's not a good thing. And we are led to believe that, this Ludendorff is Ares, and she finally dispatches him at the end, and she kills him, and it's a great scene. She kills him, and then there's a great moment between that and the end, which is where she's just like, well, the war is not stopping, and, WTF, why is that not happening?
She's just shattered.
She shattered. But, she thought that this would end everything. And personally, I mean, like, we were both talking about this, but I felt like that was the perfect place to end the film, in the sense that the real evil of the war, like, they had a moment there where they could have elevated the script to a point where it could have been really dark but really meaningful, where they say that, yes, the point of this entire film is that no singular god killer sword or any kind of personality can single-handedly end a war, and a war is evil on both sides. It's not just, it's just not one thing. And I thought Chris Pine there, his character who I'd liked really right up till then, had the opportunity to deliver a monologue or something to tell her that, hey, what you've missed out all this time trying to save people is that war sucks and this is what life is like. And he gives the most inadequate,
he gives
terrible
the exact
speech.
opposite speech where he's like, look, maybe these people are just evil. And that is a terrible thing to say.
No, that's not what it was.
Yes,
no,
that's what he says.
In that particular part, see, it wasn't about just war being bad. Her whole viewpoint is the fact that humans are lovely and wonderful and the world is good, and there's a bad force and there's the good. And she's very much like, this is the division of it. And in his speech, which I honestly can't remember word for word right now, but that was the moment that she realized that the war is not ending and why, and I don't understand. And she was like, and his whole speech, which is what I got out of it, was that that we are human and we have bad aspects to ourselves and we do bad things. We're not all good.
I mean, I know that's what he was trying to say. I don't think he.
I don't think it was strong enough.
It was not strong enough by any means.
If all of us got this,
no, but obviously, even we got what he was trying to say.
Here's why it's weaker, it's because he says that, and then immediately after, it turns out she was right all along. So if it was she's disillusioned, and then she has to come to terms with the fact that maybe humanity and the world isn't perfect, that would be an amazing, very mature thing to deal with.
Still DC.
Instead, it was like, wait, actually, no, my bad. It's all because of this one evil god dude.
It would have been so much.
It isn't all because of him.
Of course, it is all.
No,
because
it isn't. His whole point, again, when Ares comes along, you instantly think that, he's real and he's here.
Right.
But as he starts telling his story, right? As he starts explaining like what he's doing, why are you laughing?
No,
at
I
me?
said like because I know I'm saying that.
What a dick move!
What happened? No, but the fact I was laughing because I remembered exactly what you were talking about when Ares tells his story. It's the most useless piece of information. He basically starts the monologue, which is a traditional villain thing. It's like, was that? Oh, I didn't do anything. I just made humans are imperfect. It's like the most. It's for me. It's like the most stalest, version of events. So it's a device that I feel is overused. And Ares basically being just very contrived as being the only other person that you remember who could be this character, which is David Thewlis's character in the movie. So if first of all him being that guy and them just walking into a meeting at that point, just happened to seeing Wonder Woman be in that meeting and then saying, "Oh, she exists." It feels exactly. It's very contrived.
But there again, I think it's actually a very smart trope in that regard. See, because he realizes it's Wonder Woman when she walks in itself, right? Because she's talking about peace and everything, and he knows how naive she is in that regard. But he also knows that he's in a power position right now where he can't stop the war. He's talking about the armistice a lot, but he as a leader he has no chance of ever doing that. So like in regards to that, that humankind itself screwing itself over is I think they're trying to make that parallel, because from the very beginning, war being a bad thing, the perils of war is what they stress on a lot. And that's why we see it from Wonder Woman's eyes, because she realizes that humanity in itself is so bad, but she has this power to kill people with her bare hands, at the same time care for other people. So she has to now decide who's right, who's wrong. So she's torn between that.
Fair enough. No, so whatever Wonder Woman's point, Diana's entire point of view through this entire film, for me, is rock solid, right? Because whatever she says and she does, it comes across as very genuine. In fact, a lot of people have been dissing her performance, which I thought was totally fascinating.
She's so good.
Of course she is.
Yeah, she's excellent. Personally, I think the villain or the bad force of this movie could have been something very rich and very mature, something that all the DC movies have had the opportunity to kind of talk about. In Man of Steel, it's about whether you reveal yourself to the world and show that you can do these things. In Batman vs Superman, they had the opportunity to kind of talk about the ethics of being a superhero. And in Suicide Squad, it could have been something else, but nobody cares because Suicide Squad is terrible. And in this movie, it could have been about the fact that I would have really liked to see this movie end with Diana killing Ludendorff, and then Chris Pine says that this is life, this sucks,
the war goes on,
everything continues, and then we see and I would love for her to have gone back to Themyscira, in with all this guilt weighing over her, and like this the fact that she has this knowledge now, and she goes back to Hippolyta, who's been saying this from the beginning of the movie, that a sword or any of these things doesn't fix war, it doesn't fix these things, and she kind of basically understands, and then maybe she goes underground and then comes back in the time and the right timeline.
If that's how this would have ended, I would have definitely not been invested in the movie.
Exactly, because
I'll tell you, Ares, I agree with you. Yeah. I understand what you mean now with this idea that they could have like pulled at this particular aspect of like humanity and understanding it in more ways than one. And Ares was a little bit of a cop out in some way. But I also think that it wasn't just about like his whole speech at the end where he talks about the fact that people are bad and they do get a choice. Just because I was whispering stuff into their ear, they still have their own free will. They still have the ability to choose what they want to do, and they chose this. I've been talking about peace all this time, but look what's happening here and look what's happening there. And there's that bit which he's going to throw that tank onto Dr. Poison. Right?
Yeah, Dr. Poison.
Dr. Poison. And
and she's exposed and she laughs even louder with the...
And again, it's that whole idea of like, this is an evil bad guy, like throw that tank on her and do it. And I think literally my favorite... Like,
again, weird, because up to that point, she's been mowing bad guys down, dude. She's like, stab, shoot. And then the evilest person she could find, she's like, you know what? humanity is good.
That
is true. This moment.
Exactly. There was a lot of contrived moments like that for me, and that's kind of it pulled me out a lot. But
Not contrived. You also have to realize that there is an art. Like she's going through some shit. She's like, I'm killing all these people I think are bad. No, but it's a whole thing. I think people are bad or good, and then suddenly she reached this moment that like they are bad. Can people not be a little confused in life? Can Wonder Woman not be a little bit like she's bad, but could she be good? I don't even know what's going on anymore. But confusion can happen even in Wonder Woman.
I think it would have been more intimidating if David Thewlis was not playing the bad guy in the end as well. You know, after he's got the armor and everything, you can still see his handlebar mustache.
and they have this one little flashback moment to when he was Ares in the beginning. He's like, no, and he's got long hair. It's like they shot David Thewlis for one scene.
That shot was so bizarre.
Yeah.
And it's chiseled up for that role probably.
Yeah, whatever David Thewlis could do. Would want to do. But so my problem is only with this, falling into the trappings of this whole third act, villain. We've seen it happens so many times that, it kind of really bums me out. And one of the movies which I want to compare this to is Civil War. The ending, does have that little, it could have exploded into a much bigger thing. I feel like they contain it. They have the fight between Cap and obviously Iron Man. But I think the last moment with Black Panther kind of, having that little scene with Zemo, that really makes the movie for me in Civil War. And similarly here, if they had like more of a less fiery of a battle and something more like, I don't know what...
meeting of the mind.
Yeah, something where it felt like more, like where basically this movie had the chance to kind of do something different instead of the third act battle. Mm-hmm. They could have easily just taken what they were doing so well already and made that the ending.
I find...
It would have been... I feel like it would have been, for all people who like looking for a kick-ass fight with Wonder Woman and see her fight. I enjoyed the fight sequence at the end because I like seeing the graphics and it's cool. But we did see her do that in BVS. We did see her do that in the previous kind of scenes.
I agree with you. That's where I think that they could have had a far richer conversation between the two of them.
Yeah, between Chris Pine, I wish that was
Chris Pine and her, as well as Ares and her. It would have been it would have been so interesting if, because Ares, as you can tell in this whole thing, how manipulative he is. And to have seen him manipulate her and her goodness, not being able to win over, because how can you be logical when it's something that's so emotional? Like, that would have been, I agree with you, that would have been fascinating to have Ares mess with her in that way.
There's one beautiful continuity thing, if you notice, that like she kills Ludendorff on the roof, and the sword has gone through him and through the ceiling, and then she comes down, talks to Chris Pine, and then Ares comes and she has the monologue, right? So she jumps
down. It's just a jump down kind of cut. So I remember that.
And that very but that's they've detailed
smartly done. Okay, cool. So we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more of about Wonder Woman and its role.
Alternate endings. Let's do
alternate endings. We'll talk about that real amazing post-credit scene.
Oh yeah.
That one was...
And then we're gonna wrap this mother up.
Long ago, not in Bethlehem, but in a place nearby, there was a wonderful birth of a huge show, which I like to call Cyrus Says, a show that encapsulates everything in human history, from the first Homo sapien to the last Homo sapien, who's traversed the entire world and then come back to India. This is a show which tells you everything about everything. If you want to know, avoid Google, come to us. It's called Cyrus Says. Get new episodes every Monday on the IVM podcast app or wherever you get your podcasts on. You get one banana water free with every podcast. Right. I'll just check that.
Cool, we're back. We're talking about Wonder Woman. Let's talk about the feminine aspect of this movie. Do you think this is a feminist film?
Feminist film?
Yeah, I've just literally put you on the spot. Because I just want to know, first off, like off the top of your head, does this movie come across and it's hard to not consider as that because of the timing of the movie and of the cultural significance. But does this feel like a feminist film? And what is your taking away from the movie as a woman? Because you're here, we might as well ask you that.
Yeah. See, I hate putting these kind of labels on these.
It's terrible.
So
speaking as a lady.
And speaking as a lady, and like people ask me if I'm a feminist, and I'm like, yeah. So I've always had people ask me in situations like, oh, have you ever like faced like discrimination at work and this and that? And I'm like, no, man, I used to get paid the same. Like I used to get paid real well at work. I don't know what you're talking about. So my point is like, just because I haven't faced it, or I think there is a level of like equal rights, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But as like just I am this like one thing and that's all I am.
Yeah.
Like that's not like I'm many, many things and I have many, many labels. With this film, yes, you are championing like women to some extent. The lead is a woman and she's a strong, feisty, like it's amazing to see.
Yeah.
And also all the women off that island, like to have such a great degree of like independence and power and what do you call it, self-resilience, and to be able to like we can fight our own war and it's regardless of like who comes to fight us.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of weird. It's very sort of, it's not like this them fighting anyone. It's them like, mankind, like very specific highlight under, like many, many underlines under man.
Yeah.
Right? It's very much like women versus men. But you don't really see that till the whole island thing comes.
I think they did a good job balancing
I think they did.
the whole...
I think they did. And I don't think that they overdo it at all. I think there's a relative amount of subtleness in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like all their costumes like just showed cleavage. Like it's not,
this morning I was reading an article about a woman bitching about how it's not feminist because a real woman would be not this skimpy or this way. And I'm like, guys, come on, stop complaining.
Wait, one second. Who said this?
I don't remember where.
Is it in an Indian newspaper?
No, it's not Indian. It's definitely.
I'll tell you one thing. If you look at those women on the island, think of athletes. Think of like the Olympics. Think of like people who have trained themselves.
Who have to fight and
obviously,
do stuff.
To be fair,
they're not anorexic models. They're muscular. They're like fit. You look at Olympians and that
this should not even be contested. Like this is not
to be fair to all those
there might be somebody
they
who
also protest about athletes. So,
this is true. Yeah.
So all of them.
Yeah,
cool.
exactly.
So there might be someone who's not like dressed like her or his like they're probably staying at home. They're doing their own thing, right? They don't come on the beach to fight because they're not warriors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just keep forcing all these gender stereotypes all the time, right?
Yeah, it's true.
And
you know,
they do address it in the movie as well, where she looks at how Etta Candy dresses and says, "How do you go to war like this?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a practical reason as well.
Yeah.
With my principles. I like her.
Yeah,
she's so good.
She's so good.
But unfortunately, we might not see her in the next movie
Yeah,
because the next
she
movie is
died,
set in.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, she may still be alive.
Of old age, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
World War One and 2017.
If anything, this film.
No, World War One.
Oh, this is World War One, correct?
Yeah. If anything, it's so interesting. Like, if anything, this makes men look bad. Like, in a way, it's interesting if you look at like the political scenario that you see this room full of men, and you can only imagine how difficult it is for someone like Mamata Banerjee. Like, I'm just saying. Like, think about it, man. Think about what it is to be in a political environment.
In India,
like,
particularly, man, India's the worst.
And it's chauvinistic, and it's like the way they look at her. I don't doubt for 1 second someone like Amma, like for her to have to be the woman that she is, like it's insane to be in a scenario where it's so chauvinistic.
And she was beaten up, like Amma in real life. When she went to the parliament, she was beaten up for coming there. Her hair was pulled, her sari was torn and everything.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's what we're talking about. And that scene made an impact. Why a woman would come in and like why would she talk to us and all that.
Yeah. Have you guys seen this movie, Hidden Figures?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
This is so weird. I just saw that this weekend too.
What, really? That movie left me in feels like every 2 minutes I was like crying, like in the whole movie.
It's so good.
It's excellent.
Janelle Monáe is so good, dude.
Dude, she's amazing. She's in that and Moonlight, and both were like nominated and stuff.
And Mahershala Ali as well.
Yeah, and Mahershala, that guy's
is Mahershala also in Hidden Figures?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
dude, he's like who's love interest? I can't remember.
He's the main girls.
Yeah, I
don't remember.
Dude, but amazing.
Nice.
All of them so good, man.
So the reason I think the movie walks a very fine line between like defining itself as a feminist movie or not is when he says that that's no man's crossing, no man has ever gone there.
Yeah.
And she could have easily turned to him and done a very campy line, ki no man has done, so a woman will go. She does not say any of that. She's just like...
Having said that though, that's one of the best lines in Lord of the Rings though. Okay, in Lord of the Rings, when the Witch King of Angmar says like, no man can defeat me, and then she pulls off her helmet. She's like, I'm no man, I'm a woman.
Which is why
which is great.
Cheesy to repeat it now.
Yeah, you can't do it, but that was 2003. So, but I'll tell you what.
And also Tolkien had a lot of Catholic inflection, so
Exactly.
ladies may take a back seat in stories.
Yeah.
But I think these guys walked a fine line.
I think they did
a
well.
really
Yeah,
good
they
job.
did a really
You
good
can't,
job.
like I said, like to talk about their bodies, they're freaking warriors, man.
Yeah.
You can't can't diss
No,
them
there's no point even trying to explain
Yeah.
it back. But I think there was one really good tweet I read today, and which is why I actually asked this question. But it's like, I think this is a very important film for kids everywhere, right?
Yeah.
It's important for kids to go and be able to go into the cinema and see a movie which has a female lead who's really awesome and strong, and then they won't question it. It's like for us, we're all talking about it now, saying, wow, there's a movie in the theater which has got a female lead. But the kids, they'll just like watch and be like, oh, okay, cool, that's how things are supposed to be.
Cool girls
which is
and
great.
cool boys.
And so the tweet read saying, it was by Andy Gutierrez. I don't know if you know this. She's the host of the Star Wars show on Lucasfilm, right? And she was just saying, I just saw a kid run into a comic book store, come out with a few Wonder Woman comics, wearing a headband, and I saw him like just wear the headband and walk out, and she was just like, hell's yeah. That's great.
Awesome.
That is
Which
awesome.
is so
No,
good.
but because there was, I think Gal Gadot in an interview talked about like just playing this role, and she's like, my daughter.
Yeah, she has 2 daughters. Yeah, that's right.
She's like, my daughter, like, when you're a kid and you see Disney princesses and you see that they're always a damsel in distress, and like to play a role where you're a warrior and you're fighting, but you're doing good, and there is a strength that you have in you. She's like, I'm so proud of the fact that like I'm displacing all this idea of, barring maybe some like Pocahontas or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or even it's different. She's
And
like, I'm
Mulan
proud.
as
We
well.
were talking.
Mulan,
when we
Mulan was
talked
probably
about
the first one.
yeah, when we were
Even
speaking,
Pocahontas was like,
well,
she was the guide, but she was still kind of like a damsel-y type.
No, she was not a
but
damsel-y
She wasn't
type.
that damsel-y, man. She was like my favorite when I was a kid.
Yeah, and
I
I
thought she
think,
was like totally.
when we did our Moana
But she
episode,
did
we
like
spoke about that.
There was still like I'm sorry.
No, go ahead,
hung
good.
up on Pocahontas.
Yeah.
Like she fell in love, and that's why
Yes.
that kind of
It
thing.
seems
And
like
then
that,
she leaves that dude for John Rolfe. Sorry, that's the worst ending to a story ever. But so I was just saying, when we did our Moana episode, we were speaking about the same thing, about how Disney is kind of having to start to break the stereotypes it created. They created the stereotypes, and now they have to break
But
it.
also because all these old stories are like those,
they're adaptations,
Yeah, they're
right? But
adaptations
they
from
could have
German.
adapted them better. They
correct.
could have done what they have done with
I think
Frozen way
initially
back.
it was not about the source material so much, more about the animation and putting it to the celluloid.
Fair enough.
And later on it became an evolved company. I think we can give him that.
Sure, no, dude, they have,
and they're doing a good job
they're doing-
even now.
Yeah, they, as a huge
evolving with the times.
company, they have like a literal responsibility to kind of do that kind of stuff. Right. So the one thing that we actually were speaking about, even as we finished watching the film and we were coming out, and it's just really uncannily strange that the first female superhero is Wonder Woman, and it feels almost really fitting that
It's
it is
appropriate.
her, because like even though Marvel's got like 15 years on these guys, and like every other movie superhero like company has tried and it's not done anything which is just straight up like female led superhero, like it feels so fitting and feels good almost in a way that it's Wonder Woman's job to do that, like she has to kind of lead the charge, and I felt that was really kind of weirdly fitting. I don't know,
But I would like to bring up that Catwoman and Elektra were the first proper female led. But then
are you talking about Halle Berry in?
No, I know that
was
bad. It was bad. I'm sorry
telling
to bring
you,
this
I'm
up.
kind of in the same boat. The Catwoman and Elektra did come out, but
And both
they
of
were
them are
terrible.
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 both
Yeah.
extremely
that's
bad.
Yeah. So when I
really
say
bad.
that, I mean like
in
do
the
it like
modern era of
in the
cinema
modern
movies.
era, and like do a good job, and something that nobody expected DC Comics to do right now.
Yeah, correct.
So I think that's and also like if you tell me female superhero, the first person I do think of is Wonder Woman. I mean, it's not like a thing. It's just that's how it is.
You
because-
wouldn't think of it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, part of the reason this movie works really well, and what makes it so important that it succeeds also, is that it doesn't like lean into the female thing super hard.
Yeah.
No,
But
it
especially,
doesn't,
yeah.
but it is so important for it to do well right now because, again, I think it might have been a tweet or someone said this to me, but after BVS failed, no one walked out and said like, I guess we better stop making superhero movies with guys now. But they they will say that if Wonder Woman doesn't do well.
Yeah, that's so
because
true.
if you
That sucks.
MCU has several candidates for great female superhero movies, right? And repeatedly Kevin Feige has said that Black Widow especially would be a great character to make a movie.
We're just waiting on it, I guess.
That's all he's done. There's not even a single step been taken towards making that
because
movie.
I'm so interested in what her backstory is, dude. We don't know yet what she's done in the past.
And they kind of they throw in a 5-minute thing in Civil War.
How many times have we said that Black Widow everyone loves her already? The job is done. Give her a movie.
Perfect
and it's,
actor in the role. Yeah,
it's like Wonder Woman had to kind of really prove herself. I mean, she got 2.5 minutes in BVS where she's just fighting, and that's not really why I attach myself to a character. I really don't want to watch Wonder Woman fight. I want her to be a compelling character, right? And fighting is also awesome. It's great, but the whole point is that I want to see a really compelling character. What I love about RDJ in Iron Man 3 is that he's not Iron Man for the most part of the movie, but he's using his brains, his intellect, and kind of solving problems. And I wanted to see what Wonder Woman had to offer as a person, and that's what they've done really well. And for the MCU, they've had the Black Widow, who's such an enigmatic character. You literally people will go watch the movie because they really care and they want to know, and they haven't done that.
They have Scarlett Johansson playing her,
and they have Scarlett Johansson, A-lister.
Okay, for no particular reason they haven't done it.
For the first movie, I think which they're going to do, I think is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah,
I guess, and even that's Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Exactly,
right? And it just sucks.
But they are coming up with Miss Marvel. Let's see.
Captain Marvel.
Sorry.
Eventually.
Which is strange because Marvel in its comic books has been a forerunner of literally every kind of
female superheroes. They have diverse. They have
they
Muslim.
Have such diversity
the current
in there.
Captain Marvel is a Muslim female girl called Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
So
yeah. They've gone really diverse with their comics, and it's great. And it's
yet
really
they avoid it in the MCU.
I
think also very important was that they had a female director for this movie. That's the first time it's happened, which is amazing.
Really
Barry Jenkins, and such a good job.
She did.
Amazing, dude.
Honestly, I thought she did a really great job of making.
I saw things in this movie
impressed.
which I haven't seen in another film, that kind of stuff, that entire scene in the whole, the trench, and that first scene. It's just it's one of the few times an action sequence has give me feels.
Yeah, it was a fist bump moment.
That was an awesome scene. Other action sequences, you're cool, man, that's awesome. But this one, I was just oh my god, this is so good.
I agree with you. When you were talking about when she walks into
out.
No Man's Land,
Amazing.
I'm literally I'm ducking for cover because what is going to happen to you? You cannot
it is
die.
So good. It's one of the
really
most
good.
memorable scenes I think I've seen in a superhero film. So I think just for literally for that alone, full marks.
And she has perfect shoes for walking in the trenches also. I noticed that.
Dude, her armor is awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that they adapted it so. I remember when they cast her first, right? Everyone was like, "No, she's too skinny. Oh, she doesn't have big lips." This was literally the reaction of the internet, and it sucked. I was just like, "Dude,
she's too skinny."
Yeah. Because in the comics, basically she's supposed to be Amazonian.
Linda Carter said a massive.
Nah, I mean, I don't think Linda Carter was fit at all.
No, but in terms of the boobs is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, sure. I mean, again, not something that I am personally interested in when I watch.
I heard a lot of fanboys complaining about that fact.
But that was a complaint,
so
right?
Much hotter.
Yeah, stupid, right? And now, I'm so glad that she's gonna laugh all the way to the damn bank because I swear, if one thing the DC Universe has done really well is their casting, and I think whether it's Ben Affleck, who I was a little opposed to in the beginning, but now I'm so sold, it's crazy. Yeah. And this is now I can't see physically anybody else.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill is fine, dude. Maybe, and you know what? I still think the Joker is going to be good because I think the guy is a great actor, man. And he's gonna do it's a bad film, and you can't put a bad film on actors. They're doing it because it's a tentpole film. How are you going to say no? Yeah. If somebody came to you and said, this is going to be the biggest movie of the year, what are you going to say? Nah, I'm good.
And Jared Leto, man, he's paid his dues. He's been so many side roles for so many years since 90s.
Dude, no, when he was cast, everyone said that is a great idea. And I'm still by that. They just need to write him better. They need to write him better.
Oh, thank God. Because the thing is, I felt the same way. He was so good in it. But
we couldn't be the first people who said this.
No, not at all. But I felt like he could have just been so much better.
They just need to write a better. One of my favorite scene from Suicide Squad is it's right at the very end when basically Harley is back in the hole in the prison, and he just busts open and he comes and he removes his mask and he's like, I just found that so hilarious that it's such a Joker thing to do, and he does it to a T. It's
panache.
perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's perfect. That scene was great. Everything else was weird, dude. Like, it was so weird.
By the way, I heard there's been some criticism about Chris Pine.
Oh man, I thought he was.
Yeah, he was
I
solid.
actually thought he was really great, but then
You
a
know,
lot of people was like, he was
I
a
was
bit
sort of
there,
criticism.
and I was like, huh?
What sort of criticism?
Just like they felt like he wasn't. So again, I don't know the comic books that well, so I don't really know. But I thought he played the role really well. I think a lot of people just didn't feel. See, Gal Gadot's always going to steal the show,
One
but
second,
I think,
I mean, he's written way better than a lot of the female counterparts to male superheroes I've written. Okay, first off, Natalie Portman, I love her to death.
Oh my
but
God,
what
it's
is she
so-
doing in these movies?
It's sad. Like,
Which is
she
why
is
she's
such-
bounced.
Yeah,
right?
which is why she's bounced.
Yeah.
She's
I feel
not.
so bad because she's actually such a genuinely good actress.
She's a good actress, and they
used her-
underwrote Natalie Portman.
Yes.
Yeah.
How
How
can
is
you
it
do
even
that?
possible?
And I love the movies. I love superhero movies when it's the counterpart. It's like the person who's playing opposite. That's the person who's supposed to guide the hero and tell. She had no influence in Thor's life apart from just fawning over him and his
Pretty
pecs
much.
and
Yeah,
that.
but that scene in the alleyway, remember, like, she blocks the bullet. It's a proper
Dude,
callback to Superman from like Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Where he catches the bullet with his hand.
Dude, but that was such a good scene.
Yeah, and he's
right?
vulnerable. He's like, oh, I'm scared. I'm scared for my life because I'm a spy. I'm trying to like... Even the whole scene where he's been like...
That is a good scene.
He's lassoed and he has to like confess the truth.
Yeah.
It could have come out as corny as well, but he does a decent job. You believe that he's trying to
and there's a
struggle
good
with it.
payoff to the whole lasso of truth thing, right?
Yeah.
Which I really like, which is that he's like, no, you always lie to me. And he takes the lasso and he wraps
ties
it
it to
around.
himself.
Yeah.
I thought that's such a great payoff.
That was such a
payoff.
good bit. Yeah.
But
And
just
then-
putting the lasso under the suit is...
Yeah.
No, the costume thing is like that bugs me a little bit. The gala, okay, she goes to the gala in a...
And she has a
in a figure...
sword.
in a figure-hugging blue dress and she has a sword right behind it.
Which no one has commented on.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
Ludendorff dances with her.
Yeah,
Like,
but
if
I
you-
guess he puts his hand on the sort of shoulder or something.
Oh no, on her back. I see
Yeah.
it. Like, he can feel the sword. I'm like, are you happy to see me? No.
Oh my gosh. No, it's so... I mean, I think Chris Pine did a perfectly good job.
I
because
did too.
I don't
liked
think his
him.
role was to be like a three-dimensional character. He's supposed to be a flat character who's a all-round good guy who tells her what she needs to know and is that conduit, you know? And that's his role, and I think he does it well. I think his send-off is a little too rushed, which is why I wish they had a better...
But that's the
I
fault of the
agree with
movie.
you.
The fault of the movie, yeah.
Yeah, I
Not
thought
his.
that. I agree with you with that part, and I really wished he was there a little longer. Like,
Yeah.
I just felt so bad.
I'm
Like,
100% sure that when Infinite Crisis happens, he will make a return back to our timeline.
Probably,
Yeah.
yes. I mean,
because he's
it's
a
Chris
good...
Pine.
Yeah, it's Chris Pine. He's a good actor. He's a good name. He'd probably be recast. I mean, I'm not recast as in like he'll be brought back in the time travel events that are soon to happen, I hope, in Justice League.
we actually know nothing.
Well, if the Flash came back, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Flash
So-
could actually time travel back and get him.
Yeah, that's what happens in BVS. It's just like a small...
You know what's the sad thing though? The kids in Lebanon will never be able to watch Wonder Woman.
This is so
It is so
weirdly
stupid.
what?
unnecessary.
They
They're
banned
at
it
war with
2
Israel.
hours before it was about to be screened.
Yeah, so they're at war with Israel, so they don't want any of the Israeli actors to be seen in Lebanon.
That's the most ridiculous
Yeah.
thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
The thing
It
is,
is
they didn't know. It was all scheduled to screen and everything.
Yeah,
2
yeah.
hours before the first screening, someone found
Somebody
out.
basically was on IMDb trivia and just
And
like
like,
screwed.
oh,
It's like,
she's
wait,
Israeli.
what?
She's from Israel?
Yeah.
She was in the Israeli
She's army,
army.
yeah.
Yeah,
If that
yeah.
was not
But
already
all of them are in
apparent.
the Israeli
Exactly,
army. It's
yeah.
compulsory, dude.
No,
Yeah.
but like, I mean, just from her physique and stuff like that, you know that she's undergone some kind of training. Like, she's so well, like, built and, like, perfect for this role. Anyway, and
she was 3 months pregnant when she was shooting.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. So
Wait,
the additional
what?
scenes...
I didn't know that.
Some of the
I didn't know that
additional
either.
scenes, they had to put, like, a green cloth over her and do close-ups and then just kind of... Which
Oh
is,
my
like, the
God.
perfect thing. Like, it's just, like, it's so insane that this whole role is, like... It's so, it's... I don't know, it's like, what to say. There's so many things that just happen so weirdly. Like, she could have just been an actress, but she is a mother. She is like a role model already. It's insane that it's felt so perfect.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's great. All right. That is our episode. Thank you guys for being here.
Yeah,
This was
glad I
a
was
cool
here.
thing. Did you enjoy your first episode on the
You
Geek Food
did. I said
Podcast?
on your episode.
And you did it again.
You can do it. It's fine. We do it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just it's oddly long beep that happens.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I feel like you need to add the fur part of it to know that that's the word.
You mean
Like,
the
Bad
cloud?
for Navin Reed.
Yeah, I'm going to be listening to this.
yeah, so just make sure the fur's there so they know what we're saying, even though they can't hear it.
I think they know what we're saying.
No, because it could be like just beep and we don't know what we said.
Yeah, we said ducks.
Yeah. That's what we say all the time.
I said vacuum. Anyway, all right. Thank you guys for being here on the episode.
No, thank you. It's fun.
You guys can tell us what you guys thought of the Wonder Woman film. You can write to us. Contact geekfruit@gmail.com. You can find us on our website, geekfruit.in. You can go watch our new show on YouTube called The Nerdatorium and let us know what you thought about the movie. Where can we find you guys on Twitter?
I'm no_Rona.
Okay.
Dinks_things. No, wait.
It's Dinks
things. My bad. I got confused by Navin.
Well done.
All right.
It's at maybe. That's Maebe.
Cool.
Is there an underscore in there?
No.
Okay. Damn.
I remembered by now.
So, we're going to be tagging you guys on this episode. Let's see what happens.
you.
So, thank you guys for being here. See you later, you nerds.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी,
बोलिए मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वेक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, थिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर सकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.